Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead, Vikas, with your
sure.
agenda. Thank you.
Yep. So today's agenda, so introductions we have already covered. Okay. So next one comes see what is the ELK stack and how does it work. Then we will go through why externalization of MuleSoft logs is needed. Then what are the options which we are going to see. How do we externalize the MuleSoft logs to ELK, and those options will be demonstrated in this meetup. Then lastly, we'll have some networking time. Okay. So yeah, let's go through them. Okay, so ELK, or we call the ELK Stack. Okay, so it's a parent company Elastic. Okay, which developed three these open source products, which are Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana. So E stands for Elasticsearch, L for Logstash, and K for Kibana. Okay, so Elasticsearch is a NoSQL database. Okay, which is used for storing the data and indexing and searching of the data. Logstash is a data collection and processing tool, and Kibana is a visualization tool, which we can prepare the dashboards to make more sense of the data we retrieve from Elasticsearch. Okay, and then recently, the Elastic has introduced a concept of beats also. So like we in this demo will in this session we'll see on this file beat. Okay, so file beat we use is a lightweight agent or a shipper which constantly monitors the log location and forwards those logs to the or appropriate output system. Okay, the appropriate output state system may be Logstash or Elasticsearch. Okay, so we'll go through these in more detail so that you understand what each of these components do. So what is ELK stack? So as I told, it's an acronym used to describe a stack that consists of three open source products: Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. So Elasticsearch is a storage part of the stack. Okay, basically it stores the data, and for the searching of the logs, indexing the logs. Okay, it's a kind of the database or search engine. Okay, Logstash, it takes the input as a logs, passes them, and sends them to Elasticsearch. Okay, so it receives the input from the application, and then it applies some filters to filter out the logs, and then sends the output to the another system. Here, the another system will be the Elasticsearch. Okay, so if we get the logs from the application to Logstash, from Logstash to Elasticsearch, and now Kibana. So Kibana is a data visualization tool, okay, that we use for the log and the time series analytics, application monitoring, operation intelligence use cases. So it builds all these dashboards, the monitoring, the application monitoring, line graphs, pie charts based on the data retrieved from the Elasticsearch. Okay, so, and how does this ELK works? So Logstash ingests the data, okay, and from the application, and sends it to the right destination. The right destination here is the Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch indexes, analyzes, and searches and ingested data. And lastly, Kibana visualizes the results of the analysis. So this is how all these three products perform or work together as a single stack. Okay, so let's go through some more details about the Elasticsearch. So as I explained, it's a NoSQL database like MongoDB. Okay, so here it's it's a NoSQL database, so we can store the data in the form of key value pairs, the document storage, column-oriented database, or graph database, and it's based on Apache Lucene libraries. Okay, and it provides RESTful APIs to interact with search engine. So the request to the Elasticsearch and the responses from Elasticsearch are retrieved using the RESTful APIs. Okay, and since it's uses the indexes, so it makes a search more faster. Basically, to retrieve some data, the indexes are used, so it makes a search more faster. Basically, over here, and it's a distributed like distributed engine database. So basically, we can scale it horizontally, we can scale it vertically as well. Okay, and it's reliable as well, or failure tolerant. So all these features are provided through this Elasticsearch database engine. Okay, so now next one is the Logstash. So Logstash is a data pipeline tool. Okay, as I told, it's a data collection tool. It collects the data and then processes it and forwards it to the appropriate destination. So here you see that here is the data source we have, and then it takes it. The log stash pipeline consists of three things here: input, filter, and output. So input is the one which we get from the data sources. Okay, if we want to apply any filters on that, we do that in the filter. And then finally, what is the output? Where do we want to send the filtered output? So here, like, we need to send the filtered output to Elasticsearch. So in that case, the output, the destination will be the Elasticsearch. So here the data sources will be our MuleSoft application, and then it will be the logs will be consumed here and then filtered, and the output will be sent to the Elasticsearch. Okay, so it has different plugins to connect to different input sources. Okay, so like we have the HTTP plugin, we have the TCP plugin, and we have the UTP plugin. So there are various plugins like which Log4j uses to interact with the data sources. So the plugin which we are using in today's demo will be the TCP. So we'll be using the TCP plugin to interact with Logstash. Okay, so yep, so that's pretty much about Logstash. And lastly, we
Because
have the, yeah,
because I have a question. So right, log stacks will be communicating with the Elasticsearch via REST API, right?
correct.
So is there any limitation on the the volume of the data, or the is there any limitations on the calling that REST API, any rate limitings or anything, any limitations? Just the intention of asking is this, like, we can push all the logs, right? So how long we can push, how big data we can push, and how many times we can call the Elasticsearch, any rate limiting on that? Any
Uh,
limitation?
as far as I know, like Ashish, I have not read about like any limitation about that. No, I have not come across any limitation, Ashish. But yeah, we can do a search on that. But as far as I studied about it, as far as I know, like I have not come across any limitation on how much we can call the APIs or that sort of thing. No,
Okay, okay.
limitations I have not come across, Ashish.
So you are saying this is open source, right?
Yes, it's open source. Yeah.
Open source and cloud based, correct?
Yep, cloud based and on-prem also.
Okay, so if it is a cloud based, definitely there will be a limitation, right? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, but yeah, but yep. While I was preparing this and have not come to, so but yeah, I can do a check on that later on, Ashish. Maybe
Okay,
after this one.
okay, okay. Please go ahead.
Yep, thank you. And then there is a Kibana, which is a visualization tool. So to make some, as I told, to make more sense of the data, which we have now feed it to Elasticsearch. Okay, so we have this Kibana tool to do real-time analysis, summarize the charting capabilities. Okay, I think provides a user-friendly interface. We can get the dashboards in it, customize the dashboards. We can export the PDFs or the PNG reports. We can set up the monitoring and alerting mechanism also. Suppose there are continuously errors which are getting sent to Elasticsearch. In that case, Kibana can send us alerting notifications as well. So that's pretty much about the ELK. So what are these components and how do they work? So next we come to the like why externalization of Mule logs is needed. So externalization of MuleSoft is necessitated because as we are aware, right? So Cloud Hub limits the logs retention period to either 100 MB per application per worker or at most 30 days. So whichever the limit is reached first, it will retain only those only these logs, either 100 MB per app per worker or at most 30 days of data. Okay, after that the data will be rolled over and the earlier logs will be lost. Okay, suppose the client has suppose we need to check the logs which were prior to 1 month. Okay, suppose there is some issue which client is requested to check, and that issue occurred like more than one month back. In that case, we will not be able to search that in the logs. Then definitely there is security, so trends of malicious requests, authentication failures, distribution of denial service. So we can see all those trends, so we can capture all these requests, authentication failures, and visualize them by Kibana. That definitely we can make the debugging easier for the operations team. We can make the life easier like by doing the extensive logging, and the teams can and just go into the ELK stack and just search for the appropriate logs they want. Okay, And then visualization alerting. So visualization can be achieved through Kibana, and alerting mechanism can also be set up in Kibana. Then lastly, we have the, and it's not like that, like uh, cloud hub limits 100 MB 30 days logs for every subscription we have, but it's for the titanium one we have exception there, right? So we can cloud hub can store the data till 365 days, okay, but that comes only for the production environment, and that it also become costly to take a titanium subscription for that, okay. So all these reasons, then because of all these reasons, it makes sense to externalize the MuleSoft logs. Okay, and one other thing that I observed is like since in the Cloud Hub, right? So Cloud Hub, we can externalize only the MuleSoft app logs. Okay, but if we are on the on-premises or on the customer-hosted runtimes, if we want to externalize our system logs, in that case, it makes sense to externalize our logs to some third-party logging tools. In that case, we can externalize our app logs as well as the system logs to the logging tools. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
on the second point, right? So authentication failure in DOS attempts for the set of the range of IPs, right? Is
Mhm.
this logs also gets externalized?
Yes. There's some for customer hosted runtimes, no?
Okay, okay. Because it won't reach to your business logic at all, right? If it is authentication failure, the app gateway will that guy itself will be throwing back the response back. So just want to confirm how authentication failure will be externalized.
So authentication failures, like if we suppose we are calling from once a request is reached to our use of code, and from there we are calling the some other system, and their authentication failures are happening,
Oh,
and
that's
then
one you are saying for
yes,
outbound calls, right? Not for the
yes,
inbound
yes.
calls.
No, 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 no. It's
Yes.
outbound
So
calls.
yeah, be specific here. Outbound calls you're talking about.
Yes, yes, yes.
But then how come the DOS attacks will come into picture if you're doing
So
outbound call?
DOS attempts is a set of is for the inbound activity, basically distribution of
So
service. Yeah,
again,
denial of
the
service.
same question. So inbound calls are failing at the gateway level itself, let's say. So how will you log those and how will you externalize those to the ELK? If it is going inside your application, because this ELK configuration will be there in your log42j, right? Inside your business logic, correct?
Yep, it will be in the log4j2. Yep, for now, like it's yep, the demo. Yep, we'll be doing in the log4j2. Yes.
Correct. So DDoS and this authentication failure on the inbound request will be it will be tracked on the gateway level itself. It will even not reaching your application. You're getting my point?
Yes.
So if it
DOS
is not
request. Yeah,
reaching
authentication
your
failures will be outbound. Yes, DOS will be the inbound. Yes.
yeah, so if it is not reaching your application, then how it will be figuring out where should I send this logs, authentication failure, DOS attacks? Just want the
Yep.
clarification, right?
Okay. Okay. Fine. Fine. I'll come back to this, Ashish.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Sure. So here are the two options that we will use here to externalize the logs to ELK. So first one is externalizing the Cloud Hub Mule application logs to ELK, and second one is externalizing the customer hosted Mule runtime and the application logs to ELK. Okay. So here from the Cloud Hub, we will be using the log4j plus the socket appender. Okay, and then they will be forwarding the logs to logstash, and then from there it will go to elasticsearch, and from elasticsearch it will be displayed through Kibana. Okay, and for the customer hosted runtime systems, we usually have the beats file beats configured. File beats, they monitor the log location and constantly forward those logs to the elasticsearch engine. From there they will be consumed by Kibana. Okay, so this is the first option: configure and start Elasticsearch, and then we'll configure and start Kibana. Then we'll configure and start the Logstash as well. And lastly, we'll configure the Log4j socket appender to send logs to the Logstash socket. And lastly, then we will be testing the Mule application forwarding to the ELK. Okay. So let's start it. So if you guys want to do on your side as well, so I can provide you the download links to you. Okay, so from there you can. So these are the download links which I have used to download all these 4 tools. Okay, I just paste it in the chat. Okay, so you can download all these products on your side as well and unzip them. Okay, so now first step, as far our first step is concerned, so we have the configure and start the Elasticsearch. So I just go to the Elasticsearch. I have already unzipped that. Just one second. Go to the config file, the YAML file. So here we need to uncomment some of the values. Okay, so that we can start our Elasticsearch engine. So is a path to data we need to uncomment, and path dot logs we need to uncomment. Okay, then we have the host name. Host will be the Trideford's 9200 is the host that we will be running on. Okay, so rest of the values you can keep them as is. Okay, so yeah, so let's try to run this Elasticsearch.batch files. It is present in this bin folder. So just use this command line elastic search.batch.
Did you uncomment because the host, network host?
Just show you. I just uncomment that activity report.
Okay.
So I'm running it on a local host now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's still running. Let's give it a couple of seconds. Yeah. Mm, okay. So now it's up and running now. Okay, so but he's asking for the Elastic username. So we have to reset its password to log into this. So this is a command. This is a batch file available for that also. Elasticsearch. It's a password for user Elastic. Okay, so this is a value we have got for this password. Okay, password for just save it over here. Okay. And then I go back over here. See, so it's working fine now. Okay, so it's a version 7.7, 9.7.0 is the Lucene version it's using, and its Elasticsearch version is 8.9.1. Okay, so this is done. So now let's go to the second step, which is configure the Kibana. So we have in the Kibana.xml. Okay, so here also we have the server.port, which is by default 5601. Okay, server host will be localhost. Okay, and it uses this username and password to interact with the Elasticsearch. So we have to uh, create the password for this Kibana system user as well. So we use the same command over here we used. Go to Kibana and upload this password over here. Okay, so now we'll just go to the bin folder. It's the Kibana.patch. So it will take a couple of minutes to start. Okay, in the meantime, what we can do that, or we can configure our log stash. Okay, so we'll go to log stash. Okay, go
So
to config.
because meanwhile,
Yes,
there are questions. Okay, so there are questions from the room. One thing he wanted to know the horizontal scaling and vertical scaling in DB. Okay.
yes. So Elasticsearch engine can be like the Elasticsearch engine can be the horizontally or vertically scaled. So that is a feature inbuilt provided in this product. So for the distributed searching, like it supports a distributed searching basically. So it can be scaled horizontally by adding more number of nodes, and it can be scaled vertically by adding more number of RAMs or vCores.
Cool. Thanks,
And,
Vikas.
and you
Yeah.
are saying that please re-explain the point of externalization, system logs, and application logs. Okay, fine. So in Cloud Hub, we cannot externalize the system logs. Okay, we can only externalize the system. Also, we can only externalize the application logs. When you externalize the application logs, so those will be forwarded to the third-party logging tools like the ELK, but the system logs will still appear in the runtime manager. Okay, so Cloud Hub, you cannot forward the system logs. Okay, and then but on premises, since the control is in your hands only, so you just you can forward both the system logs as well as the mule runtime logs as well as the application logs to the logging tool. So that is a difference between the externalization between Cloud Hub and the custom hosted runtime. Okay.
Yeah. One more point. One more point. So this, we know if you want to externalize the logs, you need to configure your log for 2J XML, right? And
Yeah,
the point is when you deploy to Cloud Hub, what happens? This log4.2j will be overridden by the Cloud Hub itself will have one log4.2j internal. Okay. So first thing we need to do is disable the Cloud Hub logging.
that's correct.
Okay. And then only your log4j will be coming to picture. So
That's
that's
correct.
very important. Okay.
Yes.
Now point comes if you want a logs on Cloud Hub also and on ELK also. So what you need to do, first step again, disable the Cloud Hub logging. Okay, go ahead and add the appender for Cloud Hub and ELK or Splunk inside your log4.2j.
Yep.
Then you'll be able to see the logs on both Cloud Hub also and on your ELK or Splunk, whatever you are, it's configuring your log. So disabling Cloud Hub log is very important. You do whatever configuration in your log4j, it won't reflect unless you disable.
Yep.
Okay, hope that
Yep. Yep.
answered to your question,
Yep.
Arun.
Yep. Thanks, Ashish. Yes. So CloudHub disabling is the first step to externalize the logs on CloudHub. Yes, that's correct. Thanks, Ashish, for adding that.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other question, guys, before we move forward?
Looks good,
Okay.
Vikas. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Ashish. So this is getting configured. So in the meantime, this is getting executed. So in the meantime, we can go to Logstash. So Logstash has provided this sample. Okay, so this sample is particularly relevant if we are using the beats. Okay, and using the file beat to send the logs to Logstash. But in this case, we will be using the socket appender. So I'll be just be replacing it with the socket appender configuration. So as I explained in the earlier slides, it was like the Logstash was the pipeline consisting of three things: input, filter, and output. Okay, so these are three things which we have mentioned over here. Input, as I told you, will be using as a socket, the TCP socket appender. So that input will be in the form of TCP. Okay, as a TCP connection oriented protocol, and then will be receiving the input on this port, which is 5044, and the format of the logs will be JSON. Filter, so it will be filtering the log4j2 logs basis on this field time milliseconds, and that format is expecting is a Unix format. And then the output, so in this case we are sending the logs to Elasticsearch, so we'll be presenting the same thing over here. Log host, we have the Elasticsearch running on 9200 port, so we'll be mentioning the host and the local host and 9200 port. And then index, so index, as I told, right, Elasticsearch engine indexes the logs to make the queries fast, right? So index, we have to name the index over here. So I just we can write there index ELK meetup log. Okay, and then the Elasticsearch user and password. So the user is Elastic, and the password, I just take it from here. We just reset that. Okay, so we have input, filter, and output. All the three things are here. So now going back to the config file again. Let me see if Kibana is running. So still running fine. So then we have to just uncomment some of the properties from the pipelines as well. Okay, so we'll just uncomment this first. Okay, so just uncomment these properties. Okay, so that the Logstash can be launched with the pipelines. So yeah, so that's pretty much about the Logstash configuration. We'll just go to the bin folder and launch the Logstash as well. So, so you can rename that Logstash sample file also. Okay, so as per it, to make to give it a more realistic or more, it's to make to give it a good name basically. Okay, so
So because these are all three independent, right? They're not waiting for any other system. So there is no dependency, as I could
no,
see here.
no,
No
nothing.
dependency.
So now configure Elasticsearch we have done. Kibana is starting. Logstash is starting, and now we'll be just be uh, editing our log4j2 file. Okay, so as Ashish has already mentioned, so before we configure it, let's just make sure that the Cloud Hub logs are disabled. Okay, otherwise this configuration will be overwritten by the Cloud Hub appender. So here in the under the appender stack in the log4j2 to XML, so you just need to add this socket. Socket name is equal to socket, host is localhost, and port is 5044. So why I have mentioned the port as 5044, but because here is the Logstash will be setting the logs over the connection over this port. See in the input, if you remember, So in the input, I have mentioned this port 5044. The connectivity will be established on this port only. Okay, JSON layout and compact is equal to true, event end of line is equal to true, and then in the, if I go to the scroll down to the, you just need to end this appender reference in the async route info. This appender reference is equal to socket. Okay, so these are the only changes which we need to do. Okay, so here is just a small application that I prepared. So I'm just logging the payload, whatever we'll be sending to the postman. Okay, I'll just be running this so that it's ready to accept the request.
Because sorry to disturb, sir. There is one question from Sarknik. Do we need to install the date filter plugin separately for using it in the Logstack's config, or is it available for the Logstack installation itself?
No, it's already available. So that is time millisecond is a log4j2. Whatever data log4j2 will send, it will already be having that time millisecond field. So we are just filtering on that field. That's it. That is no need to explicitly get any filter, any additional plugin.
Thank you.
So because this logs, I mean with this log42j, only the logs logged by the normal log activity, those logs will get forwarded, or JSON logger if I using JSON logger or mini log. Okay, so those also will get forwarded.
Yes. So
Everything
those
will.
are the other options. Yes. So that's what. Yes, the JSON logger is also supported. So I have got a good article to read on that also. I can just ping that link.
Mhm.
Okay, so where was that?
No, right now
Yeah.
whatever setup we did,
Mm-hmm.
will that setup forward the JSON logs also? JSON logger,
Yes.
if we are logging something we using JSON logger, right? That will also get
Correct.
forwarded, right?
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Just one second. I think is put the. I got an error because I put the wrong directory name. So just put the right directory in config. It is config, not conf. Okay, and Kibana is taking a bit of time. Yeah, it should be ready. I think in a couple of minutes.
So for ELK, do we have
Why is
HTTP
it? Why?
appender? Because
Sorry.
do we have HTTP appender for ELK? Splunk we have, right?
Yes. Yes, we have
Okay.
the HTTP element of LK. Yes, the HTTP is there, UDP is there, TCP is there. Yes, all are there. Okay, so there are different options basically to externalize the logs, and this is one of the options which we are seeing in this demo. So other options include that you can directly use the ELK HTTP pointer in your log4j XML. Okay, so in that case you'll be just be bypassing the log stash and directly sending into the Elasticsearch. So that can also be done.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yes,
So
HTTP
now if
pointer log
I
stash is also available.
okay, so if I deploy this application on Cloud Hub now, how my Cloud Hub will be contacting the local host?
No, Cloud
Socket
Hub
won't
like
be working, right?
no. Cloud Hub, if I deploy in the Cloud Hub, first you have to disable the Cloud Hub logs, correct? And since we are in the trial version, we don't have the option to disable the Cloud Hub logs, correct? So this will still be going to the Cloud Hub logs only.
Yeah. No. I'm not talking about that. In Log4j, we have configured right now socket, right? So this configuration is not going to work with the Cloud Hub.
Correct, that is a local host configuration only. But when you do it for the actual runtime, you have to put in the actual values of servers, right, which are accessible.
Okay. So
That
that
is
will
only
be
for
a
demo
way.
purposes. I don't have any servers, so I just taking the local host only.
Okay. So
So
from
here's a
Varun, I
question.
think one more question. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Where we can find the properties that need to be updated in the. Yes, it can do the parsing. Yes, you can explore more on that logstash part. But as far as I have read, yep, it can do the parsing as well. And where we can find the properties that need to be updated in the log4j. So there is a MuleSoft documentation available. So what you need to, where you need to append. Okay, so where you need to update the log4j properties. So there is a MuleSoft documentation. You can go through that. Okay, but for our case, it will be just be adding the socket in the appender stack. And I have guys hope this ELK work internally on TCP. Yes, yes, it's working on TCP. As I told, there are different appenders which we can use. TCP is there, UDP is there, HTTP is there. Yes, it will work on TCP. So UDP it will be a bit faster because TCP is a connection-oriented protocol, but UDP is a connectionless protocol, and we can use the HTTP as well. Yes. Okay, so there are multiple ways we can externalize the logs. So we are in this time we're just taking a look at this couple of options only. But yes, more options can also be explored. Okay, so local logstash is also up and running on port 9600. We just left with Kibana. So once Kibana comes up, I will just try to just test one of the simple apps over here. Okay. In the meantime, yeah, I think it started. Okay, fine. Yes, proper error handling can be configured. Yes, in case logs are not getting forwarded, you have to do a proper error handling mechanism to just ensure that you don't miss the logs. Okay, it's available now. Check on this. Localhost 56001. I'll just be using this password which we have reset for Elasticsearch. I'll just be sending one request over here. So just 1 second. So in the logger, I'm just storing the payload but I have sent. If I go to here and discover, okay, we have to create the data view. Okay, you can just say that ELK demo meetup and the index which we have put in the logstash sample. Okay. ELK Meetup Log has not come up yet. ELK Meetup Log. So if I search any extract from this like Coimbatore Meetup, I should be able to get that. You see over here, 11:49, so 2 minutes back. Expand it. So name Vikas Sharma Meetup, Coimbatore Meetup, date, today's date. This is the same payload which we passed over here. So this is how you can just use this POC and try setting it up, externalizing the logs. Okay, but before you deploy to Cloud Hub, just make sure that Cloud Hub logs are disabled. Okay, so in this way, this strategy can work on externalizing the logs via the log4j TCP or the socket appender. Okay, fine. So let's move forward to the second demo, which is externalizing the log customer hosted mule logs. Okay, so here what I have done, I have
Because
downloaded. Yes, yes, Ashish.
one question I have.
Yes,
So on the this setup, right, we can transform our logs to JSON. The transform, option we have. We have filter options also, right? Now, can we do something here, like something like I have in my log? Let's say we have a sensitive fields like client ID, client secret, or phone numbers or email IDs. When we are transforming, can we give this? Say that okay, if these things are there in your payload, incoming payload or input, just skip it or something like that, or just for all these fields, just have a star star star. Is it possible?
yes, yes. In the ELK project we are using, yes, we are doing that. We're keeping the star. So we basically two options over here, right, Ashish? Whenever we are logging here in the mule itself, we can mask it. Correct?
No, no.
Masking is available at that point also, and second point in the log stash also we can do that. Yes.
I'm looking at log stack because I let's say I have old code, right? Somebody has written the code, the APIs are running. Now I am externalizing logs to my ELK,
Mhm.
and in the old code that masking, I want to have one level in a centralized point where I can mask wherever these fields logged, just those like a JSON logger, right? That's what I'm looking at. So
Okay.
you're sure, right? Log stacks level is
So
possible.
no, Logstash, like I have not tried that, but because logging mechanism of we are following, we are already masking that data. But yes, it should be possible, but we need to try. I have not tried that, Ashish. That masking of the filter by Logstash filter. So
Yeah,
we need
yeah.
to,
If at a business logic level, if I tried, then
yep,
definitely it will be there.
yep. Because
But
most of the cases like we handle it at the business data level also. So, but yeah, that I have not tried it, but I believe that should be possible
okay,
at
okay.
the filter level. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So when would you use UDP, TCP, or HTTP appender? Okay, fine. So yeah, generally we go ahead with yep, based on the requirements, our business requirements, we can use that UDP, TCP, or we want more with like in the TCP, it's a connection-oriented protocol, right? So it's a bit slower as compared to UDP, but in UDP the chances of losing of data also correct. So generally, like nowadays, what I do generally the customer prefer using the HTTP appenders also. So HTTP appenders and the TCP appenders and both can be a good choices here. Is TCP just Logstash? How does Logstash push its data? Yeah, so Logstash gets the input uh, via the TCP port, but yes, while sending the data to which communicates the Elasticsearch via the HTTP, like via the REST APIs. For this use case, it's sending, pushing the output using the output Elasticsearch engine. Uh, okay, here's some Elastic. I think some link is pasted, Ashish. Last. Okay. Okay,
So
Sagnik has replied to
yeah,
Francis then.
yeah, Sagnik is trying to respond to Francis.
Okay, fine.
Thanks, Sagnik.
Okay, thank you, Sagnik. Okay, so for the second use case, for here we have the the Mule standalone runtime distribution have downloaded. I'll be just be extracting here. Extract here. Okay, in the meantime, it's getting extracted. I'll just create a new account on any platform.
One more question there, because
Yeah, let me just check that. To improve the API, let's say compressed by incoming JSON payload. I'm not uncompressing in the Mule code. How is the UI display? That's interesting. Compressed JSON payload. I don't think like if you are pushing a compressed payload, it should appear as is. But I have not tested that. But if we are not sending the uncompressed payload, I'm not sure how would the ELK or the would display the uncompressed payload. So that's use case can be tested. I have not tested this one. I've not come across this case where the compressed JSON is sent to the ELK. Arun.
Yeah, so I'll take it that, because so
Sure.
it's not the ELK feature. When we are adding HTTP appender, right? HTTP appender has that gzip and unzipping feature already. So if you're communicating via HTTP appender, it's inbuilt. Okay, so that compressing and uncompressing at the target end, it will taken care by HTTP appender.
Thanks,
Yep.
Ashish.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's saying that HTTP event collector setting in ELK. I mean, is that there? Yeah, because one more question was there
Let me just see that.
on so Arun's question only, the first part.
We have to supply the HTTP event collector and index at Splunk side. HTTP event collector. No, I don't think so. I have the HTTP appender configuration with me for ELK. Maybe I can ping you after this meetup forum. We can take a look at that then.
Yeah,
Okay. I have the HTTP ELK appender session also with me. So maybe after the session, I'll ping you that.
maybe here you can paste it. If you have any drive link, maybe you can
And
post it.
actually, I'm not having in this laptop. Basically, maybe
Okay.
Ashish, I can send you, then you can send, or maybe I can
Yeah,
help you
yeah.
send.
We'll keep it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
In this laptop, I don't have currently, but after this meetup, I can get and send it.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay. So I'll just add one server over here. I'm just setting up a standalone server so that we can deploy it over here. Okay, fine. So the server is created. I'll just run the new run. Oh, sorry. So I already have the jar available, so I'm just logging this message. The scatterer flow is moved successfully and is logged by file beat. I'll just show you that how do we configure the file beat now. Let it come up, okay. In the meantime, let me just show you the file beat, okay. So you have to paste this file beat. So whatever I the links I gave you earlier, correct? so so you download this Windows zip file and then extract it over here, okay. And after that, you will set up a window file bit as a Windows service basically, okay. So I'll just show you here. It's currently running because I was preparing a demo for it earlier, so let me just stop it and show you how to set it up. In the meantime, let me check the okay, fine. So this server is up and running now, okay. And so I'll be deploying one application on this standard runtime, and then we check like we are able to see the logs in the Kibana. Okay, so here, what approach we are following? See, in this, whenever we externalize this from this cloud hub logs, okay, or we follow the approach of log4j appender, right? In that case, you have to modify each and every log4j file to get that appender or get that socket configuration added, okay. But in this case, when we use a file beat, we don't need to do that, okay. So on the customer hosted runtime, wherever the logs are getting stored, we just provide that path to the file beat service, and it will constantly monitor that path and forward those logs to the Elasticsearch engine, and then it will forward to Kibana. Okay, so here we have multiple options here also, right? From either from the file bit, we can directly we can first send to Logstash and then Logstash to Elasticsearch, and from Elasticsearch to Kibana. Okay, and but in this case, I'm directly going to Elasticsearch. Okay, and then from Elasticsearch, it will be going to Kibana. Okay, so here it is, the program's file beat. We have to just do the operations on this file bit using the uh, PowerShell. One second, guys, I'll be just be. I'll be just be going to the folder where we have installed, where we have extracted this file bit. So I'm in this folder now. Okay, so now here what we have to do, we have to install the sorry, Elastic. We have to install the file bit service. Since I already have that, but still I'll run that command just to show you. So here you will get the error while running this command by a PowerShell because of the security reasons. So you have to temporarily disable the security, okay, to run this command. Just like this. Okay, I want to run it, so just press on R. Okay, so it has stopped this service over here, I believe. Just, yep, the file build service is stopped. So this service is stopped currently. So this command will set up this service and make it in stopped status. So now you just configure the file bit.yaml file. Okay, so just and you just need to enable this few of the attributes over here. Main attribute is the path where it will monitor the logs. So I just provide the path of my mule runtime server is set up. So I go to mule runtime, then mule, and then I go to logs. So this is the path I have. Okay, so okay, so I'm gonna product, yeah. Okay, this thing, and if I scroll below, I will see where the output needs to be sent. Okay, the output needs to be sent to Elasticsearch engine. So username Elastic is there, and password we have to mention whatever password we reset in the beginning. So I just go here and so you see over here, like apart from sending to Elasticsearch, okay, so you can send the data to Logstash as well. Okay, so yeah, so there are a couple of options available. How do you want to send the data to send the log files to Logstash or Elasticsearch? The only difference which I could gather is like that whenever you directly send to the Elasticsearch, the index, sure, so the index comes by default as file beat. Okay, but if you send first to Logstash, you have the option to create your own index. Okay, since we are sending it directly here to the Elasticsearch, so we'll be having the default file beat index file when we are searching the data in Kibana. Okay, so fine, we have changed the path, and now we'll just start this file beat. Start it from the PowerShell. Let's get the command. Okay, it started. I'll just paste these commands in our chat window also, okay, so that you are also aware. No, it will not configure. It's the same file beat is index, which is already by default created in the Elasticsearch engine. Okay, so we have the I think our service running now. File beat. I'll just refresh. Yep, so file build is running and monitoring that location, and will be sending those logs to ELK. So I'll just go here and deploy the app. Deployment target will be hybrid. We are in Kibana Meetup server. Even in the meantime, it's starting. So if you guys have any questions. Apart from Kibana, guys, like we have other visual tools also that we can also use, like Grafana. We can also use. Okay, so there are multiple options available which we can leverage.
Because
Yes, Ashish.
did you explore anything around Datadog? That is also log management tool,
Sure.
right?
Sure. Yep. Yep.
So how you
It's
compare ELK, Splunk, and Datadog? Like,
ELK with Splunk, like Splunk is like the proprietary, right, commercial tool, right? So
mhm.
this one is open free source, but yeah, most of the big companies like which we they uh, prefer like Splunk also, right? So, but I don't have any comparison which is handy. But yeah, and ELK generally used by like eBay, Walmart, okay, and this Netflix they use
Mhm.
this ELK.
Yeah.
Okay, have you
See,
come across any differences between these two, Ashish?
no. So far, I am working on cloud only, so I'm not externalize the logs. See, when
Okay,
when you
okay,
when you talk to your client, right? Always there'll be a question. Okay,
yep,
like why we should go for ELK, why we should go for Splunk and Datadog.
right,
So we should be ready with the comparison. In which
correct,
scenario, which one will be good, right?
correct.
There's nothing
Because
good and nothing
currently, like,
bad.
correct, because currently we're working only with ELK, so I have gone through that ELK ones only. But yeah, definitely a comparison is good, so that why one is having the edge over other, why we are recommending ELK, correct, or Splunk. So while that application is still starting up, okay, so I can ask one question to the audience. So guys, what kind of database Elasticsearch is? Is it relation database? NoSQL. Great. Yeah, it's a NoSQL database. Yep. Any other examples you can quote for NoSQL database? MongoDB.
Cassandra,
Yes, Cassandra. MongoDB is here. Cassandra is here.
DynamoDB.
DynamoDB. Great. Yeah, fine. So can we use a Logstash to store the logs? Yeah, so audience is giving correct answers, Sashi. So I think they are getting benefits of the session.
This is one of the, I say, man. I mean, I'm not doing any sugarcoating, but this is one of the best session I have seen. In the log management.
Great, great. Thank you, Ashish.
Yeah.
So you will just, yep, we're going here. So this is the application which is started now. Okay. So I'll just try to send some data over here. Okay, fine. So I'm getting the output of the scatter gather also. Okay, and in the log, if I go to the mule runtime logs, you'll see over here it is created. And let's try to search it in the Kibana in our ELK stack. So here, as I told you, the default index of file beat will be utilized over here because we are directly sending from the file bit to the ELK. Okay, if you want a customized index, then we may prefer using Logstash. So we have using the file bit as an index over here. So So let me just try to search whatever I have logged.
So if you go directly go to the file bit to Elasticsearch, I think we lost that transform, filtering, and all that stuff, right?
That's correct, yes. And indexing as well.
Yes.
Customer index. The hit is at 12:14 as of today. Okay, if I expand it, I think it taking a bit time. A lot of things are open in parallel. So, but anyhow, if I expand it, it will show same result scattered at the first commit successfully as logged by a file beat. So in this way, you can externalize the MuleSoft logs from the customer hosted runtime as well. Okay, so this was I think the last step. So we configured Elasticsearch, started Kibana, deployed the Mule app, configured the file bit, and then tested the Mule app forwarding to ELK. Okay, so the only advantage this is having over the cloud of that log4j appender is that you don't need to modify each and individual log4j file. Just point the file bit to the right log location and it will constantly monitor and forward those logs to the log stash or Elasticsearch. Okay. Yeah, Ashish. So that's what I wanted to cover in this session. That's pretty much from my side.
Yeah, let's wait for more questions. Okay. And first of
Yep.
all, thank you, Vikas, right? As I mentioned,
Yeah.
right? This is one of the
Thank you, Ashish.
simplest and the, let's say, detailed um, version, I will say, of the log management session. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Okay. If you have any
Yep. No worries.
questions, yeah, please go ahead and, post there. And if you don't
Yep.
mind, can you switch on your camera, please? Yeah, so we'll take one screen snap,
I have
and
already switched.
I'm talking about other guys. Yeah, please.
Okay, 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 fine. I
Yeah,
thought I was not visible. Okay,
thank
fine.
you, Samir. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay, can we take a look at the system blocks? Yeah, definitely. So Elasticsearch is taking a bit of time basically. Okay, so that's why. Just
Sagnik, where is your camera?
Yeah,
Francis, if you don't mind, please.
yeah, Sagnik is taking a bit of time to let's load this ELK again. So maybe yeah,
Thank
definitely
you.
you can search for that mule runtime logs because we are pointing to the location where both the system and the application logs are there, so you can find those there. Not an issue.
okay, yeah, thanks.
Yep, no worries.
Yeah, Balkis, you can take.
Okay. Okay. All please have a smile.
Please switch on your camera, please. More face, smiley faces.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
thank you, thank you, everyone. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
your
everyone.
time. Yeah, thanks for joining. So recording will be there in within 24 hours on our event page. Yeah, thanks, Vikas.
Thank you, Ashish.
Yeah,
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Thanks,
yeah.
Balkis.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ashish. Yeah.
Bye bye. Yeah, bye bye.
Thanks, Vikas.